We take you back to the steps of the Western Cape High Court. This is where we find our colleague Oliver Dixon. A very good morning to you yet again, Oliver. I believe you are now in conversation with the DA's Glynnis Breytenbach.
Yes, Mfundo, we've got Glynnis Breytenbach, who is the recently appointed Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance in Parliament. Glynnis, staggering outcome, of course. It's a split decision by the bench. What is the party's reaction?
Well, I think it was reasonably predictable, given all the circumstances. It's strange that there are these three judgments, and the first one, he didn't meet the benchmark, and second two, he did. So I'm looking forward to reading them. It's difficult to comment on the reasoning without having read the judgments, and they're not yet available. It's a very important decision for the separation of powers, and it needs to be studied very carefully. But, it doesn't stop the committee from doing its work. We can do the administrative work. We can appoint the evidence leaders. We can finalise the terms of reference. We can settle the witness lists. And the presiding judge said we're interdicted from public hearings. Well, that doesn't mean that we're interdicted from hearings in camera, so we'll have to have a look at that. But it's hard to comment on the reasoning unless you've read the actual judgments. But we find ourselves in a position where a president has had to go to the courts to stop to stop Parliament from doing its job, which is a bizarre set of circumstances and really not a place that he should want to find himself in. So for him, it's a loss, whatever happens.
The president made arguments here that not only did he have a right to an interim interdict, given that the Section 89 panel report is under review in the review court, but more importantly that it was that he would be unduly and unfairly prejudiced should the impeachment work go ahead. While that is still under review, because if the outcome of the review court is that the Nobel report is invalid, unconstitutional, and should be set aside, that the president would have been prejudiced by that. And you account for that to be quite a bizarre move by the president.
Well, it's a bizarre set of circumstances that you have a whole president of a country who needs to approach the courts because on his own version, he doesn't want to be publicly embarrassed. How he finds himself in this situation is, of course, his own fault. And so it is bizarre that he finds himself in this position. I mean, who keeps their money in their couch?
Importantly here, Glynnis, is also the question around the review application. The president makes the argument there that the Nobel panel had misdirected itself in that matter. That will be heard in early September, and given that it's also on an urgent basis, judgment will then follow soon thereafter. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, a lot depends on what that outcome is, but we're at the end of July. So basically we're looking at August and September, and then whatever happens, we either interdicted then, well, otherwise it either falls away completely and there's nothing to do, or we are then make sure that we're in a position to start immediately and carry on with it, which I think will be the case. So we need to get ourselves ready, and as you say, it's a weird set of circumstances where a president has to approach one arm of government to interdict another arm of government from doing his job because he doesn't want to be publicly embarrassed. He shouldn't find himself in this position. And so the possible and potential prejudice or likely prejudice is really of his own making.
And just lastly, interim interdicts aren't usually, appealable. They're usually final because of the nature of it. Interdicts themselves can be appealed. What next for the DA caucus in Parliament, given that it now will have to, engage other parties on the way forward?
Sure. Well, we'll engage other parties, but the most important thing is, of course, to get those judgments. The judge said they'd be available now, so as soon as I get back to the office, we'll download them, study them, understand the reasoning, and then we'll be able to plot a way forward. Yep. And then we'll engage with other parties, yes.
Thank you very much for that. Really do appreciate it. Glynnis Breytenbach is the Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance. Just for that last point, and I do want to perhaps emphasize it again, interim interdicts are final in their nature. They are not appealable, contrary to an interdict application itself. And that's what separates interim interdict from interdict applications entirely. And so this does have the effect of bringing it to a stay. We can expect no further litigation or court action on this question. It is now over to the review court sitting in early September.